Greetings all, this is Mordenheim coming back to you here with a tutorial today. This is the sheep farm that I recently released, and I've made a few modifications to it and really simplified the circuitry, and now I think it's probably easy enough that I can do a tutorial relatively quickly on it, so I'm going to bring that to you now. I discussed the features of this in my previous video, so I will link that in the description of this video in case anybody's interested in seeing the features. A quick overview is your sheep stay in one spot. They're down here. I've been able to harvest 2 to 3 stacks of wool in about 20 seconds from this, so harvesting is very quick. The regrowth has been sped up by a block rotation. Like, it rotates the dirt blocks out and allows them to regrow in this grass growing circuit, and then we'll rotate the new grass back in, so there's no wait for regrowth, which is really the strength of it. And you can put multiple sheep in one place, and many times with the sheep, multiple sheep being in one location, more than one can eat at a time. Now, I'm not 100% sure if you get more than one coat of wool from that, but occasionally I've done a little testing, and I think I've gotten extra growths at times, so maybe if they're at exactly the same time it works. I'm not sure. Do more testing on that as time goes on, but what I want to do now is get into the tutorial. I don't want to be here too long talking about features because that was the previous video. So let's get right into it. We will talk about the basic features, and then after I do the introduction to the basic parts, we'll get into the tutorial. So the first thing I want to introduce is this green circuit here. This is the extender and retractor circuit. It basically brings the grass blocks into the rotator and takes it out of the rotator after they've been swapped out. So that's over here. I've created a version of that, and so you can see it outside and how it works. And so let's just flip the switch here and I'll show you how it works. So as you can see, it just goes down, lifts up, and pushes out. Pretty simple. And that was good, except for I needed to pull the grass block away from that so I had room to build the circuit around it. So I added an extra piston out here in this. And this is the part that I basically redesigned for my first iteration of this. I had used a completely different logic on this circuit. This is a lot more simple to build and much easier to teach, so this is what I'll be teaching in the tutorial. So there's that circuit. Then once we get this, basic cycle is going to be the grass block is sitting there waiting to be eaten, a sheep will eat it, and then a bud switch is going to fire the block rotation, which the first step will be pull it down into the rotator. Then we've got a sample rotator over here, so let's say this grass block got pulled in. Let's set that to like a red block. When we fire the rotator, it moves it, puts a new one here, and then this one would be pulled back into the machine. So this is just a basic rotator. This is modular. Anything you can fit in here or come up with would work as long as it rotates the blocks out and you keep them in sunlight so they can actually regrow. That's important. So it doesn't really matter what it is. This is what I designed for this system. But once that occurs, there will be a new grass block here. Then you repower it, pulls it right back into the system. So that's the basic operation of it. Then from that, we need to create a brain, that's what I call it, that basically sends pulses to these to power them up and turn them off as needed to accomplish what we need, and that's what all that circuitry does. So I'm going to introduce the basic brain before we get into the tutorial, and that will be the last piece before I start actually going into how this thing's made. So if you see this circuit here, this is the brain circuit, the brown, and I've copied it over here so you can see how it works. Now these are the two outputs. You can see we've got this circuit here. This is the one that powers the green circuit over here. So as you can see, when it's in an idle state, it's on, which would mean that it's ready to be eaten, because you can see this is powered up. So that power would be transferred to that circuit. And then this purple circuit powers the rotator. Now if you watch the basic operation, you should see this turn off. While that's off, this will turn on to say, okay, rotate, and then once that rotation occurs, this will turn back on to yank the block back in. So what we should see is this goes off, that comes on, this goes back on. So here we go. Off, on, off. So on right there. So that's exactly what we expected to see. And that is the circuit that drives it. And all it is a basic latch and then a control that with timing repeaters that turns them on and off at the right time. So pretty simple idea there, but that's what drives it. And with that, you basically see how a basic cycle works. And now I'm going to go into the details of building this green circuit over here, and we will go a piece at a time from there. So we'll go to there next. Okay, here we are again. I've moved away a little bit, and there is the sample area. I'm going to upload this when I'm done with it, so hopefully you guys can use this to help you in building this. And let's first start with the basic lifter. So the first thing we want is we want a 2x3, 6 blocks, and then basically 4 repeaters. Set them to 2 ticks apiece. And then we're going to connect here. And we want to put our pistons on the end of this up 1 block from the blocks. So like that, where those repeaters will be feeding straight into them. And then we're going to have a piston facing this way. Then we want to take this up like so. Just kind of step up here and then one over. This is the way I had to do it. It seems if I try to get in here, I haven't really found a way where it's consistent on not messing this top block up. So this is the configuration I've had to use. There's probably some better configuration out there, but this is what works for me. And I'm going to set this to 2 ticks also. Now, just for the lifter, this is not really necessary timing wise, but since we're going to add the additional piston out there, we need this extra delay. So you'll see it seems kind of slow, but it gets much faster once you've got that extra piston pulling from you. Okay, so then we will add the extra piston on the end. You want to put 2 blocks here, and then you come out in sort of a Y shape like so, and then you're going to have a piston here like so, and then we're going to feed it out. You want this one to come on instantly, and then we're going to delay the signal through the block. Here's the reason why. When we turn this off and put these on full delay, when we turn this off, we want this piston to retract immediately, which will kill the power to the extended blocks, which will be negated by a torch, so it's going to instantly extend. But when we turn it on, it will delay before it retracts. So you'll see why we need that here in a second. So let's see here, and this is basically what happens when you turn it on. It comes out, and it takes a little bit to feed through it, but it's instant off. Okay, so we'll do that. And then what we want to do from there is we want to build up, step it up, step it up, step it up, and then what we want to do, since this is retracted, we want this, I think, right there. So right there, and then we'll put a torch here. And then once we connect this with redstone, there you go. So that will unpower. And then what we want to see is with a block here, that's in place. Now when you unpower it, see how it works? Now you can see why we needed that. When we turn it off, this needs to extend immediately. So that's what this piston does. It pulls it back, immediate extension, and then when we turn it on, it needs to be delayed in retracting because it needs to be there to catch this block. So that's what this part accomplishes. So that is the basic extender and lifter. Next, we will work on integrating the rotator, and I will be right back for that. Okay, now we will attach the rotator. The first step to doing that is you need to set up your pattern for your grass blocks. Where do you want to go? So right now we've got the lifter set in the position of powered off, where the grass block will be in the rotator. We want 8 blocks per side. So let's do that first. We're going to 1, 2, 3. There's a 4th one there. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the way we want to set this up is we want to stagger empty corners and full corners on the square, and I'll show you what that means. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is going to be a full corner. You notice how this one has a gap and this one doesn't. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll have another gap over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now what that'll allow us to do is push this side first, which the first motion is going to put the new grass block in, which means we can go on with our cycle immediately. If this is the last thing we do, then we have to wait for this entire rotation to complete before we can pull the block in. We're trying to go for speed here, so that's why we do it that way. The next piece is the pistons on each end, which just want this one right up against it since it's a full corner. And on your empty corners, you want to give yourself a block to play with. Actually, I think I can just do it this way, like that. There we go. Full corner. Oop, missed it there. Right up against it. And empty corner. Give me 3 out here so I can place it. And placed. Oop, placed. Try it this way. Done. Okay. Pistons are placed. Now let's do the wiring. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to place one on the end of each of these pistons. Then I want to take it down one. Then I'm going to connect. And then at this point I'm going to go out and connect. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Put one on the outside of the pistons. Go down one. Come out a few. On the outside of the piston. Go down one. Come out a few. Oops, didn't mean to fire that. And we'll do it this way. Then we want to connect them across the middle. So we want to come down. That'll allow us to get up there with a repeater. Want to come down. And then we're going to bring them together. Let's leave a little room. Okay. Then we want to connect redstone here, except for on the ends. Take a couple repeaters. Repeater there. Repeater there. That'll fire up. We're going to put one repeater here for delay. We're going to put 3 repeaters in here for delay. And we'll set those to a couple ticks apiece. And then just fill in the gaps with redstone. Same here. Configurable delay. 3 repeaters. Redstone gaps. And then 2 ticks on each of these. What this should give us is a rotator that works. So let's go here. Put that switch on there. Seems to work. Rotates around. Make sure that's a quick tick, because when you do it, it's going to have to be a single tick, which we'll do with a monostable, but just to show you how it works, we'll do it with that switch. So that's what we get. Works well enough. So the next piece will be, let's do a quick demo of how this thing is actually gonna do for you here. Let's put a switch here and a switch here, which will give us the thing. So right now we've got it. Let's power this up. We've got the block where the sheep's going to be. So first thing we'll do is shut this off, which will switch the block to in the rotator. We'll fire the rotator real quick. Rotates it around, and then turn it back up. Just to prove that this actually works, let's replace this with a purple block. And fire that. Pull it down in. Quick rotation. And then pull it up. And the purple block's in there. And that's the basic operation. Just keep doing that all day and that will spin it around. So the next thing we're going to do is attach the brain to this so it will know when to fire what. And I will be back with that piece. Okay, our next step is to add the brain, which controls the cycle. And the first step in that is to build ourselves an RS NOR latch, which is a block there, 2 blocks, then another block diagonal up. Kind of has this shape to it. And then what you want to do from there is attach a torch here and a torch here. And there's a million ways to make these, but this is the compact one that I like. And then we're going to basically bring power back into that and power into that, which makes this a toggleable memory state. Basically, we were going to keep a memory state on whether the piston is extracted or retracted. So if it's extended, it'll be one setting. If it's retracted, it'll be the other. And then in order to enforce that, we're going to put this torch here as well, which is going to be the same as this. So basically, whenever this torch is powered, that torch will be powered, which will tell the piston, okay, I want the block to be with the sheep instead of being in the rotator. So then we want to put the control circuits in, which is just block here, make an L shape, 3, and then take 3 repeaters, end to end, full delay, then another repeater full delay here, and then connect it with redstone. Put another block here. Go ahead and make another L shape to connect. Don't need that one. Then get in there. Then we want a repeater here, full delay. Then redstone on the other faces. Then we're going to put another block here, redstone on top. And then we're going to build a monostable circuit right here, which for me, I'm just going to use a piston monostable. Put a sticky piston, block on top. I like to make those black just to differentiate the circuits. Single tick here. And what the monostable does is it generates a 1 tick pulse no matter what the length is that it comes in. So what's going to happen is I set this as high as it'll go because this will lift up after 1 tick and then cut the circuit. So there's only going to be 1 tick pulse coming in. And then we'll put an input on here just so we have a button to activate the cycle. Then let's do the output for the rotator, which I need 2 full delay repeaters to get the timing right. And then I'm going to do another monostable right here because we designed this to be a 1 tick system. So we're going to do that. Put a single ticket there, and then we're going to come up and put redstone, and that should do it. So let's test it out. Throw a button on this. Let's put it on this side here, and we'll watch it work. Rotates out, rotate around, pull the new block in. Rotates out, pull it around, pull the new block in. And that's how it works. So every time we want to do a rotation, we hit the 1 input to here, and the cycle will work. Next step, we'll look at the bud switch. I'll introduce you to the bud switch and how that works, and then we'll look at how to attach it. Alright, here is the basic bud switch design that we've been using, or I used for this model. I got this one from CNB Minecraft's channel. I know that somebody else probably came up with it. I'm not sure who actually invented it, but you know, bud switches have been around a while. So this is the basic one I'm using for this design, and all it really does is it looks for any kind of change here. And as you can see, any change next to it causes a block update. Now, one problem we're going to run into with this design is when that block is being swapped in and out, it's going to be a lot of updates. So we've got to have a way to maintain the power here, because if you watch what happens, the reason this works is because I can take this and that power will go off, and then that means I can pull it back with the next update. So you see how that power changes state every time? Well, in order to keep it from detecting all these block updates, I'm going to have to keep it powered until the last update. The reason is I want this to pull back in and reset right before the next cycle, but I don't want it to go back and forth the whole time that it's working. So it's going to have to be, once this happens, this power stays on. And I'll show you the difference. So if I throw a torch right here, that'll just keep that powered. Now you can see it doesn't come back. Now we want this until the cycle is done, and once it's pulling back that last thing, and as it pulls back in the last grass block, this should come back. So you notice you unpower, it's still there until you update again, and that's what we want. Now if I kill this, it doesn't move. See how it works? So that's basically what we've got to do with this. It's going to be interesting trying to get this to work, but that is the basic design that I'm using. So I'll teach you next how to attach this, and then how to get that that power to stay on, so we can keep it on for the duration of the cycle until the very end. So that'll be our next step. Okay, now we're ready to attach the bud switch. And we're going to have to make a minor modification before we can start that, and that is moving this green wire just a little bit, because where this torch currently is, it's going to get in the way, because the bud switch is going to be under here and it will power it if we don't move it. So we're going to move it out just a little bit. Let's destroy this, leave that where it is, grab our lime wool, coming up, make a little L shape, and then step up there. Add a torch, run our line back, and that's that. So what we're going to do is we'll prove that that doesn't really change anything, not that it should. So there we go. Cycle works as expected. And now we can add the bud. I like to use pink wool for a bud switch because it's a manly color and bud switches are manly. So let's do that. We're going to go under here. 2 torches on those 2 blocks, and then we're going to take that. Step up. And step up. Now this is the block that needs to be powered. So we're going to put a repeater there. Let's take that down because that will not work. Let me get one more lower. And then repeater here. And then dust, dust, dust. So there it is. So now we have a basic bud built. And when we update, you can see it works. But like I said, we need to hold the power to this upper block a little bit longer, because we don't want multiple updates occurring and messing this bud switch up. So in order to do that, we're going to have to add an additional latch down here. We'll bring it down, and then we're going to create our RS NOR latch here. So let's get blue for RS NOR, and put one there. Oops, right there, right there. Torch, torch. Repeater into that block, and then get back here and put a repeater into this block. So what that's going to do, then we'll run our dust down. So that will hold that open even if, so now if we were to fire this, it will stay open no matter what, because there's nothing to change that state. So the only thing that we need to do now is we need to make sure we can turn that off at the end of the cycle. Well, and the way we're going to do that is I'm going to put dust here. This will fire after the first swap has occurred, and then give it just a little delay so we don't run into problems with timing. And then I'm going to change my wool to red here, step this up, and put dust up this staircase that I just made and onto that. So what that's going to do is once the cycle ends through the brain here, it's going to say, alright, go ahead and turn the power off here so we can reset the bud switch. So if I were to put something here, say, okay, end of cycle, and then the last update occurs, it's going to reset this bud switch back, which is going to repower it. And since I created another bud there, let's do this one more time to reset it. And we'll go on and put the last piece in. So here's that, and then we will put a little bit of, put an update here. So that resets it back. Now the last thing we need is when that bud switch fires, we need to start the cycle. I'm going to use dark green wool for that. Right here, step down, step down, step down, destroy that, put a repeater, dust, 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 dust. That's your cycle start. So we've got cycle start, that'll run it down and start the cycle like we would have pushed the button. Then that will fire the bud switch. This RS NOR latch will remain keep the power on for this block up here until we say cycle end, and we're about to do our last swap, which will turn it off, and that last swap will reset the machine. So let's test it and make sure it works like we expect. So swap it out, swap it in, and reset. Update again, swap it out, swap it in, and reset. So now you can see if a sheep were to eat from this block, it would cause an update and cause a block swap, like so. The last piece to make this all work is we need to build the top stuff, the sheep swapper, which I will talk about a little bit, and then we will build it on top of here, and then we'll be able to call this thing done. So that's coming up next. Alright, we're here at the last circuit we've got to review. It's a basic circuit, just the sheep mover, and all it does is move the sheep out of the way before we do the block swap, so we don't have sheep that bug out, because if you move a block from underneath a sheep, even if you replace it with something, they'll glitch through the block and be stuck. So this is the effect we want. See, they move in unison, and that's what we're going to attach to the top of our building. So let's go over here and do that. We're going to take our pistons, and we'll put one here, and put one on top of there, and then we'll remove that. Then we're going to take one block distance, torch, come out, come around, dust, 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 repeater, and that's just to get the timings the same, and then we're going to come down from here. So I need a 2-block repeater, 2 ticks, that's to give the timing the right timing, because this will turn off the moment before we need that to swap back over. We need a second or a tick or two delay in there, and that's what we're going to put a repeater in for. But otherwise, this works perfect for the timing. We're going to come down and just work our way down. To get away from that. And there we go. So run the dust up. Dust. And that should do it. So we've got that. We've got the torch. It's on it. And here we go. Let's run our update cycle. Swaps over. Swaps them out. Block comes back in. It swaps them back over. It's exactly what we want. So swaps them out of the way. Pulls the block. And that is the last of the wiring. Now all we've got to do is we've got to clean this thing up a little bit. We've got to put some platforms on top. I'm going to replace this with grass because we want grass to regrow. So let's get some grass blocks. There. And then grass needs to go this way also. We'll go ahead and put it all the way back. And we're going to add the water in for harvest. So let's do that. And this shouldn't affect any of the function. So as long as you're putting these blocks in, it's mainly just so this will regrow. And then what we want to do is we want to add a piston here. So what we're going to do is we'll go. Actually, we need that to be sticky. Sticky piston. Get down here. Underneath. Put a block on top. Take a lever. So there's that. That'll operate that. And then we can come out here and add some stairs. So let's see. This will be the place we stand. And then we'll add some stairs there. Might need to come out one more. Okay, and then grab stairs. I want stone brick. Okay, and back to grass. We want this grass up here so it will expand and grow. And then we want to come here. Like so. Now none of this will affect the operation of the actual machine. It's just there to give yourself a place to stand, and you could build this all as one ground, and this could all be underground if you wanted to do it that way. There's really no limitation on that. I like to use glass blocks here just so I can see what's going on in the machine. Same as here. And then the rest of it I put in as grass so it will expand down and spread. And we can't put grass blocks over that because that's got to go through. So do it like that. So that's basically it. Then we can put a block update here. Watch it operate. Okay, now let's put some sheep in and test this thing. Sheep. Now let's let one eat, hopefully. He just ate. Swap him back. He just ate. Swap him back. Last, I've got a couple more things we've got to do to finish this up. One is we've got to place the water. Now you want to be careful with this and double check that you've got this entire canal here sealed off. There's no openings. There's no openings under that block. You want to make sure you've got a solid canal. If you don't, you'll end up with water down in your wiring, and it can mess up the entire machine. So you want to be really careful. Probably want to be careful around Enderman because you can have these dirt blocks be taken, and you got to be careful with that. So if it does get out, it will mess up your wiring very bad, so I don't recommend it. It's happened a couple times to me. So that's one thing. The other thing that we got to be careful about, or we've got to be sure of, is that we've got grass around this rotator. I don't have it in here yet, and if we don't have that, it's really going to break the operation, because this has got to be here in order for the grass to spread down. Now I've moved this wiring. If you'll remember, we had it up closer. I moved it down a little bit. Same exact wiring, I just moved it down a block so we have room to put these, because if you put them in like a channel, it seems to screw up the lighting and the grass doesn't spread as fast. So instead we want to put it down at this level. You can't hear because it'll break that connection, but you can put it up there and then leave the rest there. So, and you could figure out a different way to do that wiring, I'm sure, but for now that'll work. And this is what we want, going all the way around. So then we've got to light it. So let's put glowstone or anything. You use pumpkins if you want. I actually kind of prefer pumpkins, but ask anybody on my server. I'm kind of famous for using them and everything, but for now I'm going to use glowstone. This will be fine. And let's actually bring this up one more block so they're not touching and shading any of that. And we'll make this work. So and we don't want it to be in front of that, because that's where the operation is going to occur. Go all the way around. You can light this as much as you want. This is good enough as far as I'm concerned, but and there we go. Now we've got a well-lit rotator. If you want, you can put more glowstone. Like I said, it's pretty configurable however you want, but I wouldn't put it too high in case you want to put this underground, because you can build out and put your ground level on top of this, build whatever you want, and it'll just click a hole in the ground. So this is basically done. Let me put a few sheep in here. We'll do some operation and show you a couple basics. So we load them up. Alright, they're in there. I'm sure they'll eat here in a second. Maybe not. They're still pretty new. We'll keep adding them till they do. And let's harvest, because I know that'll make them hungry. There they went. Let's go turn that on. It's best if you turn that on during a block rotation, because that way they won't start eating. A lot of times I'll see them bug out if a block rotation fires while they're doing this, because they're jumping and it kind of screws them up. So it's good if while the block rotation is occurring you can turn on harvest, because right afterwards it'll lift them out, and then you want to harvest them. So we do this, and the other thing I want to show is breeding, because a lot of people are like, how do you get so many sheep in the hole? Well, you only have to really get 2. Because then all you need to do is go to, I think, materials, yeah, for wheat, and hold it just like you harvest with wheat, and you'll hear little sheep popping out. And do it till you can't breed anymore. And we'll let them go. And that's the way to repopulate. So you just have to have 2 to start. I would recommend a few more, and you can get as many sheep in there as you're willing to make. So I think that's about it. We'll do one more fly around here just to say it's complete. Like I said, I'm going to upload this map in the description of the video, and you guys can hopefully follow along the tutorial, follow on the map, and figure this thing out. So hope you guys enjoy the creation, and we will see you next time.